Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. I am Hema Priya, BT Assistant in Physics from Bardasana Metric Higher Secondary School. Today we are going to see a continuation of a first chapter, Measurement and Experimentation. Do you all remember what we have seen in our last class? Exactly, we have seen how to measure a length of an object using a vernier caliper. Here the vernier caliper, it measures the length up to 2 decimal places in a centimeters and 1 decimal places in a millimeter. Suppose if I have an object whose length is less than 0.1 millimeter, in that case the vernier caliper will not give the accurate reading. So what we will do? We will use the other instrument called a screw gauge. So screw gauge is basically used to measure a length or the diameter of an object which is not measured accurately by a vernier caliper. Now we will see the parts of a screw gauge. See, this is a screw gauge. If you see, you have a U frame. So this U frame which has a fixed end. This fixed end, it is denoted by A. This fixed end is called stud, S-T-U-D, stud. So the screw gauge as a U frame, this U frame has a fixed end, it is called the stud. It has the other end which is B, it is a movable end. So the U frame which has a fixed end called the stud, the other end which is movable, it is denoted by B. This entire U frame, it is supported by a nut. So U frame has a fixed end called the stud and the movable end which has a screw, and this entire U frame is supported by a nut. If you are seeing further, this screw is housed inside the hollow cylinder. So this hollow cylinder, there are two hollow cylinders. So first, if you are seeing, there are two gradations. Here there is a first gradation. This cylinder is called a sleeve cylinder. This cylinder is a sleeve cylinder, and this is the other cylinder. This is called a circular or thimble cylinder. So this is a sleeve cylinder and this is a circular cylinder. Here if you are seeing, there is a certain markings on the sleeve cylinder. Here each marking corresponds to 1 millimeter. Here each marking on the sleeve cylinder corresponds to 1 millimeter. Here this sleeve cylinder which is further housed inside the circular cylinder. If you are seeing the circular cylinder, it has readings from 0 to 100 divisions. So what are the things we have seen so far? Here we have seen the U frame which has a fixed end called the stud, and this is the other end. This is a movable end which has a screw which moves in and out of the circular cylinder, and this entire U frame is supported by a nut. There is a markings on the sleeve cylinder. This marking is called the main scale. So the markings on the sleeve cylinder is called the main scale. And what is the marking on the circular cylinder? It is called circular scale. So the main scale readings are taken from this sleeve cylinder and circular scale readings are taken from this circular cylinder. Now we will see, there is another object called ratchet which is present at the end of the screw gauge. What is the need of this ratchet? If you are moving, if you are rotating this ratchet, if you are noticing the screw, by rotating this ratchet, the screw is coming in the forward direction. See, if I am rotating this ratchet, the screw is moving and it is coming in contact with the A. If the NB comes in contact with A, here I cannot move the ratchet further. Here the ratchet becomes free and it produces a rattling noise. So these are the parts of screw gauge. So first one, the fixed end is a stud and the movable end is a screw, and this is a sleeve cylinder and it is housed inside the circular cylinder, and the markings on the sleeve cylinder, it gives us a main scale, and the markings on the circular cylinder, it gives us a circular scale, and the ratchet, by moving a ratchet I can move the screw, and when the ratchet becomes free I cannot move the screw further and it becomes a rattling noise. Now we will see what is the pitch and the least count of this screw gauge. Before getting into it, first we will see the basic working of a screw. Here even in the screw gauge, the screw we have, it is similar to that of a basic screw. If you are seeing, the screw has the threads all over the body. The screw has the threads all over the body. If you look closely, the distance between each thread is constant. If you are looking closely, the distance between each thread is constant. See, if I am rotating, I place the screw on the socket. If I am rotating the head of the screw, here the screw, it covers a distance so that the thread, it moves inside the socket where it want to enter. See, if the screw is rotated in clockwise direction, it moves by one distance between the threads. So I can say the distance between these threads is called the pitch. That is the distance between the two consecutive threads in a screw is called the pitch of the screw cage. The distance between these threads is constant. The distance between two consecutive threads in a screw cage is a pitch. And I can further define the pitch as, if I am giving one complete rotation, if you are seeing, if I am giving one complete rotation, the distance moved by the tip of a screw, it is also called as a pitch. So I can give the definition of a pitch of a screw cage as, the pitch is equal to the distance travelled by a thimble on main scale by a number of rotation. See, here this is a thimble. Here this is a thimble. If I am rotating this thimble, if I am giving one complete rotation, how long the distance covered by the thimble on this main scale, it gives us a pitch value. Here if I am giving one complete rotation, that is, if I am rotating the 100 divisions on the circular scale, the distance moved by my screw on the screw cage is 1 millimeter. So I can write, so the distance moved by screw on rotation of 100 divisions is equal to 1 millimeter. Here I am giving a one rotation on a thimble, that it is covering all the 100 division. When I am rotating it, here the distance travelled by the thimble on the main scale, which is equal to 1 millimeter. What if the distance moved by the screw for one division? The distance moved by a screw on rotation of one division. This can be calculated by a simple unitary method. I will be bringing this 100 on the other side, so I will get 1 by 100 millimeter, which is equal to 0.01 millimeter, or I can tell it as 0.001 centimeter. So this is the least count of the screw cage, that is, this is the minimum distance which is moved by the screw when I am turning, when I am giving a rotation, that is when I am turning it to one division. So the distance moved by the screw when I am turning the screw by one division, it gives us the least count of the screw. So far we have seen what is the pitch of the screw and what is the least count of the screw. What is the pitch of the screw? The first definition here is the distance between the two consecutive threads in a screw. It's called the pitch of the screw. And further I can define the pitch as, that is the distance travelled by the thimble on the main scale divided by the number of rotation. Here you are seeing the distance travelled by thimble on the main scale is 1 millimeter. And how many rotations we have given? I have given 1 rotation. So I can write the pitch value as 1 millimeter. And I have found the least count of the screw cage as 0.01 millimeter. What is the least count here? That is the distance travelled by the screw when I am turning it to 1 division. When I am turning it to 100 division, it gives us a 1 complete rotation. That is the pitch value. When I am turning it to 1 division, it gives us my least count value. Now let us see how to measure the diameter of a wire using a screw gauge. Here this is a screw gauge and this is a wire. I want to place this between the fixed and movable end, and I want to move the ratchet in order to fix the object in between these two ends. Now the object is fixed between A and B. Now first step, I want to calculate the pitch of a screw cage. Here we know the pitch of the screw cage is 1 millimeter. From that I will be finding the least count of the screw cage. What is the least count of the screw cage we are using here? It is 0.01 millimeter. Next step, we have to find the main scale reading. Why we want to find the main scale reading? Because in order to find the diameter, we have the formula, that is the diameter is given by main scale reading plus circular scale divisions into least count. What is the main scale reading in this case? See, here you are seeing a baseline, that is a reference line. If you are looking closely here, the baseline reads a value somewhere between 1 and 2. Here we will be taking the lowest value, so I will be taking the main scale reading as 1 in this case. And what is a circular scale division? See, this is the circular scale. Just look at the point where the division on the circular scale meets with the baseline. So in order to get the circular scale reading, check the circular scale values. Where the circular scale values, it meets with the baseline, it gives us the circular scale reading. In this case, the circular scale reading is 80. So I can write the circular scale division is 80 in this case. And what is the least count? The least count is 0.01 millimeter. On multiplying, we will get 1 plus 80 into 0.01, it gives us 0.8. So the observed diameter in this case is 1.8 millimeter. So we have found the diameter of the wire using a screw cage. The diameter is 1.8 millimeter. To find the diameter, we need to get the main scale reading plus the circular scale division into least count. We already found the least count, and how we got the main scale reading? Here from the baseline we observe the main scale reading, and circular scale division is nothing but where the reading on the circular scale, it coincides with the baseline. So from that we have got a circular scale division, and by simple unitary methods we found the diameter of this screw cage. Before placing any object in between these two ends, first check for zero error. What is the zero error here? Without any object, if I am making end B in contact with end A, here the 0 on the main scale should coincide, shouldn't contact with the 0 on the circular scale. If the 0 on the main scale, if you are looking here the 0 on the main scale isn't coinciding with the 0 on the circular scale. In this case, I can say this screw cage is free from any zero errors. So what if the 0 of the circular scale is not coinciding with the main scale? In that case, you will be having two zero errors. One is the positive zero error, the other one is the negative zero error. What is positive zero error? If the 0 of the circular scale lies below the reference line. So this is the reference line or the baseline. We know if the 0 of the circular scale lies below the reference line, it is called positive 0 error. And if the 0 of the circular scale lies above the reference line, it is called the negative 0 error. If the 0 of the circular scale lies below the reference line, it is called positive error. If the 0 of the circular scale lies above the reference line, it is called negative error. In order to get the correct reading, by neglecting this 0 error, we need to find the 0 error first. Here in the positive 0 error case, the 0 error is calculated by finding the circular scale division. How we will find the circular scale division? Where the division on the circular scale is contact with the baseline. So here the circular scale division is 5 in this case. And what is the least count of the screw gauge? 0.01 millimeter. So the 0 error in this case is 0.05 millimeter. So I can say all the readings that is measured using a screw gauge which has a positive 0 error will be greater by 0.05 millimeter. Hence we have to minus this, we have to subtract this 0.05 from the measurement in order to get the correct reading. For example, if the observed reading in this case is 1.65 millimeter. In order to get the correct reading, I want to subtract this positive error from the observed reading. So what is the observed reading? It is 1.65, and what is the positive error in this case? 0.05. By subtracting, I will be getting the correct reading as 1.60 millimeter. So what is positive 0 error? If the 0 of the circular scale lies below the reference line, it is called positive 0 error. So when a screw gauge has positive 0 error, all the measurements measured by screw gauge will be larger by 0.05 millimeter. In order to get the correct measurement, we have to subtract that positive error from the observed reading. Now coming to the negative 0 error. What is negative 0 error? If the 0 of the circular scale, it lies above the reference line, that case we have a negative 0 error. So here in the case of negative 0 error, all the values which will be measured by screw gauge, it will be smaller in units. First find the negative error in this case. The negative 0 error, the 0 error can be found using 0 error is equal to the number of circular scale division minus the circular scale division where it is in contact with the baseline. Where the circular scale is contact with the baseline, it is at 95th division into a least count of a screw gauge. So number of division here in this case is 100. So 100 minus 95 into what is the least count of the screw gauge? 0.01 millimeter. So here I will be getting 5 into 0.01, which is 0.05 millimeter. So when a screw gauge has negative 0 error, I can say that the measurement, the readings taken by screw gauge will be smaller by 0.05 millimeter. So in that case, in order to get a correct measurement, I need to add this error in order to get the correct reading. So in order to get the correct reading, I have to add this negative error with the observed reading. If the observed reading in this case is 1.65, I will be adding the negative error of 0.05 with the observed reading. So I will get 1.70 millimeter, which is the correct reading. So far we have seen why we need to go for screw gauge. Why we are going for a screw gauge? When the length or the diameter which is not correctly, accurately measured using a vernier caliper, will be going with a screw gauge. And we have seen the parts of the screw gauge. What are the parts? The first one, it's a stud, and the second one it's a movable end which is in contact with a screw, and third is a sleeve cylinder and the thimble cylinder along with the ratchet. And when coming to the pitch, we have seen what is the pitch. The pitch is nothing but the distance between the two consecutive threads or the distance moved by the screw when it is given one complete rotation. And what is the least count? The distance moved by the screw when it turns one division in the thimble scale. And we have seen how to use the screw gauge to calculate the diameter of an object. And when coming to the errors, we have two types of error. One is a positive error and another one is a negative error. And how to calculate the correct reading by neglecting these errors. We have seen all those calculations. So that's all about the topic, how to measure the length using, we have seen so far how to measure the length using a meter scale, a vernier caliper and a screw gauge. And the next topic is how to measure the other physical quantity called volume. And what is volume? A volume is nothing but that is a quantity occupied by any three-dimensional, a quantity occupied by a substance in any three-dimensional space. I can simply say that the substance may be a solid, a liquid or the gas. A space occupied by any of the substance is called a volume. A volume is nothing but a space occupied by a substance. Now we have seen what is volume. Volume is nothing but a space occupied by a substance. And the unit of volume is meter cube. Now if I want to find a volume of a regular body, see this is a cuboid, it has a length, breadth and the height. If I wanted to find a volume of this regular body, I will be using the formula. And what is the formula to find the volume of this cuboid? Which is nothing but length into breadth into height. What if I want to find the volume of an irregular body? For this we have two experiments. In one experiment I will be taking a irregular body whose volume is less than the volume of a liquid, that is volume of a water I have taken. And the other case I will be taking a volume of an irregular body which is higher than the volume of a water. Now we'll get into the experiment. Now we are going to see how to measure a volume of irregular body using a measuring cylinder. Here the volume of a irregular body can be measured using a measuring cylinder. So here this is a measuring cylinder. Here the markings are done from the bottom to top. It is measured, it is marked in milliliter. Here an irregular object, it displaces the equal volume, it displaces the water which is equal to its volume. So here this is a irregular object, I have taken the stone, I have tied it with a thread. Initially I have filled this measuring cylinder with water. Here I am marking this volume as V1. Here what is the marking here? Here the marking is at 55. So I can take V1 as 55 milliliter in this case. Now I have taken the irregular object, I have tied it with a thread. If I am immersing this irregular object into this measuring cylinder, I can see that is the irregular object, it displaces the water. If I am marking the reading here, it shows somewhere between 63 and 64. So I can write it as 63.5 ml. So now note down the volume. The volume here is 63.5 ml. So I am taking this as V2. V2 is equal to 63.5 ml. By finding the difference between these two volumes, I can find the volume of a irregular object. So what we have done here, initially I have taken the measuring cylinder, I have filled it with the water, I have marked down the volume, that is volume is 55 ml. Then I am immersing a irregular solid using a thread. There the volume rises to 63.5 ml. I have taken it as V2. Now by finding the difference between these two volumes, I can find the volume of the irregular object. This is the case where the volume of a body is heavier than the water. That is, the volume is greater than the water. What if the volume of an irregular body which is lighter than the water? Here this is a wooden, it floats in the water. Here the volume of this wood is less than the water. Here if I am immersing this wood, it will not immerse fully, either it floats. If it is floating, I cannot find the volume displaces by this wood. In that case, what I will be doing? I will be using the help of a sinker. So this is a sinker, it sinks totally in the water. First I will be inserting this sinker into the measuring cylinder. I will be recording the volume. Here the volume noted here is 63.5 ml. So I will be taking this value as V1. So V1 here in this case 63.5 ml. First we have to note down the volume by inserting the sinker into the measuring cylinder. In order to find the volume of the object which is lighter than the water, I'll be tying it with the sinker and inserting it into a measuring cylinder. After inserting this, if you are noting that the volume has risen to 66 ml. So here I'll be taking this volume as V2 and it is 66 ml. By finding the difference between these two volumes, I can find the volume of the object which is lighter than water. So 66 minus 63.5, it gives us 2.5 ml. So the volume of the wood object, it is 2.5 ml. So these are the two experiments we performed in order to find the volume of irregular object using a displacement method. What is the first experiment? First, we will be taking an object which is greater in volume than the water. In the first case, I will be taking a measuring cylinder and I will be filled it with water. I will note down that volume as V1 and later by inserting the irregular object using the thread, I have found the volume as 63.5 ml. By finding the difference between these two volumes, I have found the volume of an irregular object. And what if the object is lighter than the water? In that case, I'll be using the sinker. What is a sinker? It sinks in the water. So by immersing the sinker in the water, I have found the volume. Initially, I have taken it as V1. Later, by tying the object which is lighter than the water, I have found the volume V2. By finding the difference between these two volumes, I have found the volume of a irregular object, that is a wood which is lighter than the water. So this is the experiment to measure a volume of irregular object. So in today's class we have seen what is screw gauge and how to measure a length or the diameter of a wire using a screw gauge, and next see what is volume and how to measure a volume of a irregular solid using a displacement method. Here for further reference, I have given the PPT and the description of the topics we have covered so far in the link below, and the YouTube links are also added for your further reference, and just go through the link and take the assessment to check how far you have understand the concept so far. Thank you.